Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. So let's start with the first question, which has been sent in from Vansh B. He says, "Hi, guys. Hope all is well. What are some of the best goals you've seen scored by defenders? One that may not be technically the best, but was one of my favorites, was Zanetti against Spurs in that Gareth Bale hat-trick game. The captain scoring and the energy, even the assist. Happy to hear your responses. Thanks for everything, guys." One of my favorites, I've mentioned it a couple of times, Cannavaro for Inter with that belter from 30 yards out is so surprising. It's one of the most, it's a brilliant shot. It's a screamer. That's one of my favorite goals by a defender. Maicon as well. Maicon has scored some screamers against Juve, against Milan, but he was more of a wing back attacking player.
Well, there's been loads of fullbacks that have scored great goals. I mean,
Theo Hernandez coast to coast was just unbelievable as well.
Yeah, Roberto Carlos when he was at Inter, he scored some great free kicks. Even though Roy Hodgson, when he come onto our show, very grumpily reminded everyone that he scored a few free kicks at the start and then didn't score again for the rest of his time at Inter when they had a big bust up. So
my favorite part of that interview, now that a few years have gone by, is how someone's fed you a dodgy story, even though Roberto Carlos literally told me to my face when I interviewed him in Gothenburg when he was the general manager of the Indian Super League team, that the reason he didn't get on with Roy Hodgson was that he played him out of position. I played him as a left back. They told me he was a left back.
Yeah, that was a great interview. My favourite is when we tried to play a game with him at the end.
He wasn't having it.
When we gave him two options, and he really wasn't having it. He didn't get it. He just thought it was so stupid. And I think we asked
comparisons are odious.
That's right. He quoted Oscar Wilde, and I think we were asking him who's better, Pele or Maradona, and then he
comparisons are odious.
Yeah, but before that he says, "Well, I like a bacon sandwich, and I also like I also like a chicken sandwich, and what we comparing here,
Oh my God, brilliant. Right, next question. Mohammed Surti says, "Hi guys, hope you're both well. Had a two-parter for you guys. After a long time away, had a two-parter after a long time away. Number one, have Juve and Man United both devolved into the same type of club? A, both have a habit of turning talented players into absolute shells of themselves. For Juve, see Openda, Cup Miners, and for United, see Various. B, both have also former players that rejuvenate themselves, after leaving. For Juve, see Keane, Chiesa, and for United, too many to name. And two, is it too late for Matias Soule to join the Azzurri? He has a whole queue of right wingers ahead of him in the Argentine pecking order: Madrid's Mastantuono, Atleti's Simeone, and Chelsea's Buonanotte. I imagine he probably wants to play at the World Cup too. Thanks. Keep up the great work." Let's start with that first question.
Well, Soule, just to get Soule out of the way, because I know we've got a question on this later as well, so save us you having to read that one out. Yeah, look, with Soule, first of all, it wasn't Soule, I know this is the other question, it wasn't Soule that says he wants to play for Italy. It was his agent said that the door's still open because he hasn't been called up, and trying to apply a bit of pressure basically on Argentina to play Soule. And so that's the situation. Soule has always actually been clear right from the start when Mancini first tried to call him up.
Yeah.
And he made it clear that he felt Argentine, he wants to play for Argentina. So I think Soule's been quite clear that Argentina is who he wants. But of course, if he's not going to get called up forever and he's not shown any love, then who knows? It might open up. Whether it will open up for this World Cup. He's very young, Soule. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bloody, we're crying out for him. He would be amazing if we could get him. I think he wants to play for Argentina.
Yeah, I think so as well. Are
Juventus the Italian Man United? Yes, they are. I mean, Both clubs are the biggest, the most powerful in their country. United have not won a major trophy since 2013. Juventus haven't won a major trophy since 2020. When I say major trophy, I'm not including League Cups, FA Cups, Europa League. They're not major trophies. Okay, let's just put
Europa
that away.
League is a major trophy.
It's not a major trophy. Unless you're Tottenham. If you're Tottenham, it's a major trophy. If you're a club as big as Man United and Juventus, it's not a major trophy. Simple as that. It's a loser's trophy.
It's a European trophy with, at the time when they wanted teams from the Champions League came down as well. It's not like it's now, where it's literally a bit more like closed off.
In 1990s is a major trophy. In 2013 or
17, they won it.
Since the Champions League expanded, it's not a major trophy anymore. No, it's not. I mean, clubs, Jose Mourinho can try and make out like it is, like he's made out the Conference League was a big trophy. You know, it's not. They're not big trophies. But anyway, they've not won a league title. They've not challenged the Champions League for years. United have not challenged for the league for over a decade now. Yeah. Juventus have not finished in the top 2 since 2020. The transfer market, both clubs have been a complete disaster for years. Flop after flop, expensive flops. When United players leave, like McTominay, Højlund, they become big stars. When Juventus players leave prematurely, stupidly sold, like Keane, like Soule, like Dean Huijsen, they become big stars, expensive. Manager after manager have failed at both clubs for years now. Important managers with big reputations as well. Both clubs are a complete mess structurally and at managerial level. Both clubs are run by idiots. And both clubs look like years away from returning to the top. So yes, Juventus are the Italian Man United, or maybe Man United are the English Juventus.
I thought this was a little bit exaggerated before, but the more we see, and especially last year, the last years in particular, I think last year under Giuntoli, I think it's clear that there's more of an argument to say that, to be honest. They are really, like, Juventus are really poorly run. They are really poorly run. I still feel that there's a difference between United and Juve in the sense that Juventus have not spent anywhere near as much as United have. So I think United's incompetence it's almost impressive. You have to stand in awe of how unbelievably poor that club is run. But in the Italian context, no one has the budget of Juve in Italy.
Yeah. Comparatively from if you put it pound for pound, on an Italian level, it's comparative. But on a purely financial, looking at the hard numbers, it's pretty incredible what Man United have done.
Now, Man United, that should be like that. You have to stand in awe of the incompetence there. So yeah, it's.
But the bottom line is that this is what happens when a club is run terribly at the top. It doesn't matter who the players are, who the managers are. The clubs, those two clubs, are both completely poisoned. They're poisoned because they're run by idiots. And things don't change when clubs are run by idiots. When any organization or corporation is run by idiots, the corporation fails. It doesn't matter if you bring in the best people to manage it, to in this case to play for you, and that's what's happened at both clubs.
Sure is. Next question comes from Adamo Principe. He says, do you think Sandro Tonali has become disillusioned with modern football? He fulfilled his childhood dream by joining Milan, wore Gattuso's number 8, and even won the Scudetto, only to be sold to Newcastle in the name of financial stability. Do you think that experience took away some of the joy he once had of the game? Well, that experience took away some of the joy he had for the game, knowing that even a player like him, who could have been a club symbol, wasn't immune to being sold. I don't know. I think it's speculative. I don't want to entertain that. You don't know how people feel inside and all that stuff. But he seems happy enough. He's playing good football. He's been, last season he was brilliant for Newcastle. Right now, this season, I saw a great clip of on social media where Paul Scholes was saying he thinks he's the best midfielder in the Premier League. he held him in higher regard than Declan Rice, and he went into like a long explanation as to why he thinks that's true. So I don't think he's become disillusioned with football.
And that really pissed off the Prem faces. The Prem faces.
Yeah, because they compared him to Declan Rice.
You can't say that Declan Rice isn't better than Tonali.
Yeah.
Look how much Declan Rice runs and tackles and.
Yeah, it was really fun, but Paul Scholes being...
I have to say one thing, though. The hallmark of the Prem face is always to overrate these. This is historic in England. This has been the case for... I remember watching a rerun of the famous England 3, Hungary 7 game at Wembley in 1953 when Ferenc Puskás and Hideguti just Cox's just tipped the piss out of England at Wembley in a historic match. And I remember what they were saying before that game, the commentators and what they were saying in the media, and some legendary quotes. One was Hungary can be stopped with firm tackling. And that was a great quote. And there's the hallmark of the Prem face, especially the Prem face media, is that they always overrate players that run a lot, that tackle a lot, that get stuck in, show heart and desire, and like these kind of players over the actual more technical players. And if you look through history, the players that have always been loved most in English football, maybe it's changed a little bit over the last 10, 15 years, but it's always been the hard-working, running types rather than the skillful players. So, at Man United, the more loved player, if you look back in history, was Roy Keane over Paul Scholes. At Leeds United in the 70s, it was Billy Bremner, who was a tough tackling Scotsman, over Johnny Giles, who was the skill star that was running the show. So here is the immediate reaction is, it's got to be Declan Rice, because Declan Rice is the one that you see getting stuck in and putting in tackles and everything.
And I think it's a disservice to English, because English players as well, because England has produced some fantastically technical players. I mean, I think it really, through the years, England has produced some fantastic technical players. And I think it's unfair that this culture has been festering in there. I think it's unfair because, especially, now as well, where you don't have as many of those bone crushers. You actually, most of the England players are pretty decent technically. I think it's a disservice to them, to be honest with you. I think it's a very stupid and reductive way and stereotypical way of viewing football, and it's a disservice to a lot of English players, to be honest.
Is Sandro Tonali the best midfielder in the Premier League now?
I think I agree with Paul Scholes. Yes. I think right now, based on performance and form, I think he is. He's so press resistant as well, which I think really suits. Which I think is why he's able to express so much of his talent, because the Premier League is so much about press and being able to handle press. And given that he is so press resistant, I think he's able to express.
I think the only player that is better than Sandro. The only midfielder in the Premier League that is better than Sandro Tonali is Rodri. But
he's injured.
But Rodri done his ACL. He's come back now, and it takes time after an ACL to get back to your best. And he's 29. So before his ACL a year ago, yes, no doubt, Rodri is the best central midfielder in the
you can make an argument he was the best central midfielder in the world.
Well, he was. There's no doubt about that. He won the Ballon d'Or as well.
Yeah.
But now that Rodri is not, at his best, Sandro Tonali is the best midfielder in the world. And anybody that's saying Declan Rice is better than him, I mean, just come on. Declan Rice, he's a good player. He's a serviceable player. He's very good tactically. He's very good at protecting the back four, but he's a limited player. On the ball, he's a square passer. He passes and runs in straight lines. He's just, let's just be serious here, So, for me, yes, he is the best.
Yeah, I think he's the best midfielder in not in the world, but in the Premier League right now. I think it's I don't know who else that will be, and I think it was so interesting to listen to Paul Scholes explain why he did, and it's nice when you see a quality player like Scholes, discuss that and explain why, and also the way that he compared Declan Rice to Tonali and why he thinks Tonali was a better midfielder.
Well, Scholes would know. Scholes was a fantastic player.
mad.
Again, very underrated player
Very.
because of the culture in English football, which was, I
Exactly.
mean, I remember, Scholes used to get, I mean, this was partly Sven's fault. And this was partly also because they were trying to fit him, Gerrard and Lampard in the same team. But like Scholes getting shoved over onto left midfield. And that was a thing that culturally, that was something that was always, like, they used to blame Sven for that, but England managers did that for decades. I remember Glenn Hoddle, who was a phenomenon, one of the best players in Europe, like won the league for Monaco under Arsene Wenger, and he was the best player in France at that time, when Liga was only second to Serie A at that time in the 80s, late 80s, and he was incredible. England used to stick him out on the left midfield because he was a player that didn't, wasn't a tackler, wasn't a runner. When you could have built the whole team around him, and he would have, so similar with Scholes, I think, at England level.
Yeah, I agree. And then the fact that they didn't play a 4-3-3 to try to accommodate the Lampard, Scholes, and Gerrard. I think in that system they could have probably worked together. But Sven had his 4-4-2 and his ideas, and it is what it is. But that would have opened up other problems. But it's an interesting discussion. But Paul Scholes would know. I mean, he was a fantastic midfielder. Bloody hell. Ginger Ninja. Right.
Amazing shot of him. Like one of the best right-footed long shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Right. These just to those of you who are not patrons and YouTube members, this is the preview, these opening 15, 16, 17, however many minutes that we have provided for free for everyone, so that you have an idea of what the Q&A is about, which we do every week. Everyone who's a member or a patron on patreon.com/TIFP sends in their questions every week, and we answer them as we have done these 3, 4, 5 questions that you have seen now. If you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/TIFP for $3.99 a month, and you get all the content that we produce for without any ads. So make sure to check that out. Right, let's move on to the next question, which comes in from CJ Barilla. He says, what's your predictions for Roma versus Inter Milan? And also we have a follow-up question on that. Jack Hacken says, is Matias Soule the cornerstone element of a new era for Roma as a club? 3 goals, 2 assists, and 6 Serie A appearances. Dybala and the likes of El Shaarawy on their way out, and Roma have a few good younger players in the youth setup. Can Roma build a proper team around him and go for glory in the Coppa or the Scudetto race? And Gasperini, of course, does have his way with young players and has so far built well on what the Claudiosaurus has left behind. And he's got follow-up questions. Would you go on holiday to the Italia 90 camping on Lake Como? I send a link below if you're interested, and he's provided a link as well. And I love the fact that there's a camp Italia 90 camping site in Como. I think that is absolutely brilliant. I would definitely go there. I'm not too big on camping as a whole. No. It's too much effort. But
a bit nicer though when the weather's nice though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when the surroundings are as beautiful as this. It's a bit different when you're camping at Glastonbury in the mud and the rain.
No, I mean I don't mind that. It's just that I think it's an age thing as well. When you're younger, you know what I mean? Like when you were younger, I used to go to festivals a lot and I loved it. But now it's like, no, I like running water. I like indoor plumbing. I like indoor heating.
Oh, well, I've always been like that. That's never, never something that I've wanted to do, to be honest.
No.
The only time I ever did it was at school. It was a compulsory school thing when I was 12 years old. It was during Euro 96, and I actually had to miss the Italy versus Russia game from it. My dad had organised a bunch of buses to go from Bedford to I think it was at Anfield, that game.
Wasn't it Old Trafford?
Was it Old Trafford? You might
I can't
be right.
remember. I think it was Old Trafford.
No, it was Anfield. It was Anfield. Okay. Old Trafford was the second game against Czech Republic. So I went to that game.
One.
I went to that game. But Italy, Russia was at Anfield. Italy won 2-1. And my dad had a connection at the time, got loads of tickets and organised a bus, load of people. And so I was supposed to be going to that. But then the bloody school had this compulsory camping trip to Wales. It was bloody awful. It was raining. It was cold.
Raining in Wales? Nah, yeah. Come on.
In the middle of all these fields of sheep everywhere. And
no, can't believe that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I think Wales is some of them is genuinely stunning. Like Wales
is a beautiful place. I'm not saying it isn't a beautiful place. I'm saying I wanted to bloody go and watch Italy versus Russia.
Of course you did.
I don't want to go camping with sheep.
Right. So let's talk about.
So anyway, where were we? Yeah.
I want to talk about Matias Soule before we preview the game. I think we've both said it many, many times that the future for Juventus is Kenan Yildiz, building around him, and the future for Roma is building around Matias Soule. So that's the way forward, and that's the way we both see it, I know. And I think they can build a proper team around him and go for glory in the Coppa Italia. Why? Of course they can. I mean, why not? As for the Scudetto race, I mean, now, if they're ever going to do it, now's the opening. There's no real clear dominating force in that sense in the Serie A. It does feel very open. So I think if there ever was, but then, for that to happen, all the stars have to align. It has to be like the perfect season.
I think there's no doubt about it. Napoli and Inter are substantially better than Roma. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. But you're right that we're in a climate, and it has been the case for 3 or 4 years, where there isn't a financial monopoly or dominance from the big three like there was before, that if a club is really well run and well managed, then, a bit like how Napoli, I guess, have been, then the opening is there for a club outside of the big three to win the Scudetto. We've seen that with Napoli twice in 3 years, and that opening could be there. But as they are right now, as Roma are right now, this team can't win the Scudetto this season, as they are right now. Could they win it in the next couple of years, even next year, if the club is run brilliantly well? They have amazing transfer market, and some of the younger players emerge and everything, and some of the other clubs continue to be run badly, like Juventus, like Milan. Then yes, it's possible. It's possible. But this season, no, they're not good. They're not strong enough. And the great start that Roma have made so far this season, I think there's been quite a large amount of luck and circumstance with that. If you actually look at the hard underlying stats of every game, they've been eking out results in games which they really haven't created much, and they haven't even deserved to win based on chances created. So they've just, well done to them. They've done well. They've done great, but I don't see this. I can't see this.
It's not sustainable, is it? Playing like this,
not playing like it is. Does that mean it could change? Because sometimes people, you get people that don't listen to what you say. I'm saying if they continue to play as they have been since between now and since the start of the season to now, it's unsustainable. But if Roma suddenly start playing better and they start creating more chances, and then it is sustainable, because they're not playing as they have been. You'll get people that if Roma suddenly start going on a 10-game winning run.
Oh, you said you didn't.
You said that Roma. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So yes, but do I see them? No. But having said that, though, this game is a good test. It's like we said with Milan before the Napoli game. When people were saying, could Milan be the anti-Napoli? We said, well, this is the first big test for Milan, and they passed that test.
Well, let's preview Roma against Inter now then.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we kind of have done, or we've started the preview
let's
already.
Properly go into it.
I mean, Roma Inter. I mean, it's match day 7. It's Stadio Olimpico. It's this Saturday, 18th of October, at 20:45 CET. The team news is Inter Thuram, probably too early for him to return, but
he's targeting Napoli game.
Yeah, it's probably too early, and if he is back, it will be bench at very most. As for Roma, probably the same for Leon Bailey. He's getting closer to a return, but he's not going to be ready for this game. Certainly not to start. Dybala should be back in training this week and should be available. But again, do you start him? Probably not. Not after a few games out. So that's the team news. Of course, there's still some international games before the game, Monday, Tuesday. So there could be some injuries coming from that. As for the probable 11s, I mean, Roma, we're looking at Svila, back three of Celik, Mancini, and Dika. Then Wesley and Angelino at wing back, Cristante and Cornet at centre midfield. Then the two behind the one in this 3-4-2-1 formation, probably Soule and Pellegrini, and Dobbik as a lone striker, as Dobbik has won his place from Ferguson. The ballotage, though, I mean, Celik versus Hermoso, potentially. Pellegrini versus Baldanzi, potentially. Dobbik versus Ferguson. But I think that Dobbik has, for certain, I think Dobbik has won his place. Ferguson started brightly, but has really dropped off in the last weeks. As for Inter, 3-5-2, Somma in goal, Akanji, Acerbi, Bastoni, Dumfries, Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan, Di Marco, Lautaro, and probably Bonni, but the ballotage, the ballotage are, for me, are Di Marco, Augusto, Mkhitaryan, Sucic, and Pio versus Bonni. But I think that because Pio will have played 2 games in a week for Italy, I think that they'll play Bonni instead. That's just what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on most of those, except I think, the only one is I'm pretty certain Di Marco will start. As for me, I think Sucic, I think he'll bring Sucic on, unless he feels that Sucic is ready for this big test. But I agree with you on the Pio thing.
Having said that, though, if Pio has a great game for Italy and scores, they might think, well, he's on great form, so let's start him. But I think that, look, there's a lot of games, and Kivu's been rotating pretty well. So I think Bonni will start. And Bonni played well as well the last game.
Yeah.
Form. So both teams on great form. Roma, since the start of the season, have won every game in Serie A except for the loss at Torino. They did lose one in the Europa League in that crazy game where they missed 3 penalties in a row. And Inter, fantastic form as well. They've won 5 games in a row after that shaky start. So both teams in great form. The odds are, Inter are favourites to win this, despite being away from home, 29-20. Roma are 15-8 to win, and the draw is 21-10, so basically 2-1. So, I mean, the talking points, we've spoken a little bit about them already, about this as a test for Roma. Can they keep up their amazing starts? We've done that already. As for Inter, I guess it's can they keep up their great form? And they're playing great.
I think for Inter, it's a question of, okay, this is the second big game, the second big test for Kivu. He's done away with the small must-win teams clashes. He's overcome those, and he's overcome those really comfortably. There's not been much to talk about. Minor talking points in the kind of question mark form, but Inter have answered those questions really clearly under Kivu so far. The question is now, this is a big game. It's away. There's a chance here to silence doubters, which includes myself. And can they do that? I think that's the big talking point. And if I look at how Roma have looked, Roma do concede quite a bit of chances. Inter score a lot of goals. That's a weak side that speaks for Inter, and it's a weak side for Roma. On the flip side, Roma are yet to really kick into gear, but they kind of have this kind of, their confidence is really high because they keep winning games, and they do manage to somehow get themselves out of trouble. And also, given how Kivu plays, he's not like, there are differences between him and Inzaghi, and we are seeing them more and more. Gasperini, how will he play? Will he go gung-ho and this man-man marking that he always did against Inzaghi, and that's why Inzaghi always beat him? Or will he continue to kind of try to put Roma in a position to grind out results? Inter's efficiency problem, they create by far the most chances in the Serie A, but they have a problem converting in those chances, given the number of chances they create. So I think it's kind of, there are these questions, and it's difficult for me. It makes this a really difficult game to predict. But I do kind of expect Inter to continue playing the way they do, and I expect Roma to kind of continue playing the way they do, because it's been working for both teams. I don't expect them to adapt too much to that. But whether or not how that translates into results, I think that's where it gets a little bit more tricky for me.
I think predictions, I think Inter win this game. The hope that I see for Roma is if this Roma team is fresher than Inter, because I'm looking at the teams, and the Inter players, I think, generally will have played more minutes. I mean, there's a few players that are going to have good rest. The Inter defenders are going to have good rest because Bastoni got suspended. Acerbi's had a good rest. And Mkhitaryan won't play.
Frey's not been playing too much either. I think.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit, but I look at Roma and I think that some of their players are going to have more rest, like Soule, Pellegrini, Cristante, Mancini. I mean, I guess it's reasonably even. I guess there's not too much difference, but I think there's probably Inter will have some of their key players will have maybe more minutes in their legs. Plus the South America, like Lautaro coming back, because that's always an issue. Yeah, that's always an issue as well. So maybe a slight advantage for Roma in terms of physical shape going into this game from the international break. But otherwise, I think that Inter are playing better. And I think my prediction is 2-1 Inter.
I have this. I think a draw. The way I see this, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. But I think that if anyone is to win, if you ask me that today, I do think Inter are more. I'd put more inclined to think that Inter win this game than Roma. But my original position is I think this is a 1-1 draw. To be honest. But I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game. I think it's going to be. For me, from a tactical point of view, is what I'm really interested to see how they handle this, how they play each other, how they formate. Does Gasperini go Gasperini ball, or does he continue with what he's doing?
Yeah, does Gasperini's horrendous record against Inter continue as well?
Yeah, but it's more against Inzaghi than Inter, isn't it? I mean, it's just he kept doing the same thing over and over, and Inzaghi was just waiting for him to do it, and then he just beat them. But it's going to be interesting for sure. But I don't expect Kiwo to change how he plays. I think why would he? I mean, now that he's finally got some stability in terms of results, and even though they play with a higher defensive line, it's kind of looked really well. The press is working, the midfield and the defense, and they're looking more and more cohesive in both phases of play. So I don't think he's going to change too much in terms of approach tactically. But yeah, no, my position is this is probably going to end in a draw. But if anyone wins, it'll probably be Inter. Right. Let's move on to the next question. Joe Leali says, who's the best Italian player today?
Okay. So, yeah, I've thought about this. What I'll do is, let me come up with a short list first, and then we can pick a player and debate it, right? So, this is who I have as my short list for the best Italian player today is Gigi Donnarumma, Alessandro Bastoni, Nicola Barella, Sandro Tonali. We could maybe throw in Moise Kean as well. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that.
With those five, is there anyone? Yeah. Is there anyone missing from that shortlist that should be in the shortlist?
No, I think for me, I'm happy with that shortlist. To be honest, I think right now.
I mean, Calafiori, Di Marco, maybe knocking on the door, but I think from those five, if we're looking at
if we're looking at overall quality, yeah, exactly, overall quality versus form, I think those five for me are. I think that's a good shortlist. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm actually picking the best Italian player today, for me, it's out of two players and two players only of those five. That's Donnarumma and Tonali. Now, Donnarumma has done it, probably unlike all of the other players on the list. Donnarumma has done it at the highest level, both club level and both international level, and he's done it consistently. We've seen what he did at, winning the Euros. And this is going back over 4 years now. Player of the tournament, Italy won the European Championship. And then also he's done it for PSG, winning the Champions League. He was the best player in the Champions League last season. For me, PSG won that Champions League because of him. So really, probably you go Donnarumma. But if you want to look at it, also kind of, Premier League level, best league in the world, Sandro Tonali is the best midfielder in the Premier League right now. So I think it's out of those two.
Again, on form versus overall quality. If it's on form, it's one of Donnarumma and Tonali right now, I think, with Bastoni knocking on the door. If we're talking overall quality, I think it's again Donnarumma and then Bastoni, Barella, Tonali. I think they're kind of on the same level. I do think Bastoni and Barella on a technical level is still somewhat just a notch above Tonali. But we are talking fantastic players here. But I think on form, Donnarumma and Tonali right now, with Bastoni knocking on the door. Barella's had an increasing rising form curve, but he's not really fully there. But I think if we're talking actual quality overall, I mean, Barella's quality is, you don't discuss that. He is unbelievable. He's a tuttocampista. When he's at his best, I don't think there are very many players who are better than him in the world, to be honest, in that position. And Bastoni as a defender, I mean, Van Dijk, Bastoni, there's not that many players.
Did you see his attempt at blocking the ball?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but he is a world-class player, Van Dijk. I mean, we should be honest. Well, yeah. I think he's past his best as well. But he still is a fantastic player. But in terms of defenders, I don't think there are very many who are better than Bastoni. I really don't. I think and now that he's improving his defensive side of his game as well, I think he's just turning into a complete.
We just need to see him do it in the back four. For me, that's what we need. But obviously, he only gets to play for Italy in a back four. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's out of those players right now. Those are the ones that I think are the biggest shining stars of the Italy national team right now in terms of consistency, overall quality, and so on. There's lots of players knocking on that door, but they're not really there yet. At least not from where I stand. At least. Right. Next question comes in from Sanat. He says, "Hi, Carloni. I particularly enjoy the tactical discussion of the pod. So my question this week is what makes a central defender more suited to a back three or a back four? If one had to describe attributes in terms of, say, a spider chart, which attributes are more important in a back three or a back four for central defenders? If you think of your top 5 central defenders of all time, would all of them fit naturally into a back 3 or 4? Or any of them more suited to one of those systems?" Well, Baresi and Serie A played in both a back 3 and a back 4. Didn't they? I mean, Baresi for sure.
I don't remember either of them playing in a back 3, but I'm sure they could have done.
But Baresi was a.
Italy in 1982. It wasn't on paper a back 3, but at times it did kind of morph into a back 3 in a way, especially when they had suspensions and going into those final games, like it sort of was. But like they could.
But football has changed. Like it's a different game today. But for me, the main attribute that I look for, even if a player is physically strong, great passer of the ball, great pace, aerially dominant, for me, it's how quick reactively they are to making mistakes. I think in a back 3, especially in that central role, how quick are you at recovering from a mistake? That is what I look for a defender in a back.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, historically, being in the sweeper, let's say, which is what Serie A was. He was the libero. He was, which I guess, you could say it's a kind of a back 3, because
that's what I go.
Depends on the system. Really depends on the system, but. That its reading of the game was what the libero was, the centre who played. He was reading the game, and sometimes they weren't even that quick. Those players. I mean, Beckenbauer wasn't quick. Sciarra he was decent, but I mean, we're not talking about lightning fast players. It was the reason of the game. Obviously, the game has changed now. You play higher up the pitch, but it really depends on, for the back three. Are you playing in the middle or are you playing on the right? If you're playing in the middle, then you can get away with it a little bit with a lack of pace because it's about reading the game and you've got your two players next to you. The players on the side, though, they have to be able to cover laterally. And that's why we've said in recent years, there's certain players that are not suited to a back three. Milan Skriniar was a good example because he's got poor lateral movement. Federico Gatti is another great example. He's somebody that has very, very poor. He's slow off the mark, moving sideways. Not very good at covering because you've got to cover those spaces between the wing back and the side centre back. Exactly. So if you're a right centre back, you've got to cover that space. And you've got to cover it in behind you. And so if you don't move very well laterally, then you're gonna struggle. But also in the modern game, those side centre backs also need to be able to bring the ball out as well. So in a back four today, players that are kind of more rigid and more organised do better. So that's why someone like a Gatti in a back four is good in a back four because he can be in an organised line, structured. But in a back three where he's having to move sideways and everything and looking and going behind, he struggles. So that is, I think, for the back three, that is on the side centre backs, that is something that you need the attributes that are important for it.
Agreed. I agree with that. Depends on where in the back three it is. A good question, that. Next question. Dylan Motta says, hi guys, 2 questions for you. 1, when Italian football was at its peak, how good was the Serie B? And 2, when Juve was in the Serie B, sorry Carlo, what kind of impact did it have on that league financially and competitively? Were they expected to simply walk the league? How big of a shock was it when they lost points? Well, the first question, all I'm going to do is read the list of top goal scorers in the Serie B in the 93-94 season. The winner was Massimo Agostini at the age of 30 with 18 goals. Second was Oliver Bierhoff at the age of 26, 17 goals. Gabriel Batistuta, 25 years old, 16 goals in third. Then you had Enrico Chiesa in 6th, 14 goals. You had Andrea Carnevale, 14 goals. Pippo Inzaghi, 13 goals. Dario Hubner, 12 goals. Christian Vieri, 12 goals. George Hagi, 9 goals. That's the.
When we say that is the greatest Serie B season or the greatest season in the history of football for second level football, there's no doubt about it. Look at some of those names.
I just read you the names.
Let's say the Serie B in 1993-94 is better than the Serie A today.
Oh yeah, in terms of attackers and strikers, yeah.
Those names you
I'm
just
not so sure about the defenders, goalkeepers, and midfield, but the attackers.
There's better attackers in Serie B in 93-94 than there are in Serie A today.
Overall, for sure. I mean, there's no. I don't think there's much you can say.
I mean, that is the most insane Serie B season ever, but it wasn't alone. Again, if you look through the Serie B seasons in the first half of the 90s or the late 80s, and you'll see packed full of these kind of players. Like I remember, like the Romanian contingent at the Romania team that got to the 90, did so great at the 94
Brescia.
Brescia, yeah, with Lucescu as the manager. Some of the names that were just.
Yeah. That's
insane,
crazy,
isn't it?
As for Juve in the Serie B, I think from what I remember, everyone was, even though they had a minus point deduction, everyone was expecting them to walk that league, and they did walk that league. I remember they lost the first game, but then after that, there was no turning back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they still had some great quality in it. Del Piero, Trezeguet, Buffon,
and Del Piero was the top goal scorer in the Serie B, and the following year, he was the top goal scorer in the Serie A.
Yeah. But I mean, the impact, everybody knows the impact. It depresses me to even talk about it.
He's talking about this impact it had on Serie B financially and competitively.
Oh, on Serie B. Sorry. Yeah.
And they.
I mean, it did obviously would have made some interest for Serie B. People would have wanted to watch Serie B games that didn't want to watch before.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good for the Serie B. It made it more interesting. Let's remember, Italy had just won the World Cup, so you had fresh World Cup winners playing in the Serie B. So it was a good season for the Serie B, and I would argue Italian football as a whole. Next question, Akbar Palawan.
Of course you would. Yeah,
of course I would. Cheaters should be punished.
I mean, the league's destroyed for the rest of the time, but let's celebrate it. Yeah, brilliant. Let's celebrate the destruction of Serie A forever.
Can't do the crime. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Akbar Palawan says, I'm not trying to wind up Carlo. Speaking of winding up Carlo, I'm not trying to wind up Carlo about stadiums, but is San Siro finally going to get demolished? What's the latest news? And can you guys do Inter's all-time worst 11 and Juve's all-time worst 11 plus the manager if they played each other, which team would lose? We did a deep dive on the San Siro last week on the Q&A, so go and check that out. Nothing has changed since then, so I don't want to repeat that.
The all-time 11s. Let's do another time when we've got a bit more time and we can. Yeah, think about
we'll save this for next. Yeah. I'll save this for the next. For next week. Mohammed Wisha says, "Hi Neiman Carlo. The Q&A episode should be on YouTube because nothing is better than seeing Carlo's face when he's about to go on a 5-minute rant." My question: it is on YouTube, but it's on YouTube for YouTube members. The only negative about that is that you can't send questions directly. Which it is shit that YouTube doesn't have a DM system. I just find that ridiculous. As for, he's got a next question. How soon will Oak Tree sell the club now that the city has approved the sale? And also, can we stop the disrespect on Recoba's name here? This has happened twice in the last 3 months. I have no idea what he's referring to when he says disrespect to Recoba. So I'm going to leave that I'm going to leave that alone.
I love Recoba. I've always spoken about how much I loved him.
By that. But so please send in what you mean by that, Mohammed. And also, how soon Oak Tree will sell the club? I think once the building starts, by the time the actual building of the stadium starts, and the debt situation continues to look better, then I think more interesting offers will come in, and that's when I think it'll be more interesting to sell and buyers to buy. More importantly, it's not just a seller's market, it's equally a buyer's market, if not more. Next question, Jonny Manja says, why is Napoli a more successful side than Roma? They have better players, aren't yoked by FFP, and even with the carousel of coaches, they seem to play a consistent style of attacking football with a solid defense. Roma has the second largest GDP of any Italian city and is not solely reliant on tourism. It is the epicenter of Western civilization along with Athens, but unlike that city, Rome has way more to offer from a cultural, historical, political, economic standpoint. So in a nutshell, how can a team from a large southern city outshine and outclass what should be one of the crown jewels of European football based on the pedigree of their city? Is the simple answer that ADL is just a better businessman? Grazie tutti. I think it's got to do with the fact that there's only one club in Naples as well. I think if there was only one club in Rome, that would be much more easier to kind of funnel that energy into a winning side. I think the fact that Napoli only has one club helps a lot from a financial point of view, absolutely, but also from a political point of view in the sense that there's no rivalry, the entire city is behind them. I think that's something that shouldn't be underappreciated or underestimated, rather. As for, I think ADL is just a better businessman in terms of the people that have run Roma. I really think so. I think he's I think honestly, if we look at it, pound for pound, how Atalanta and Napoli have been run in the last 15 years, you can argue they're the best run clubs in all of Europe. They always operate on a profit. They don't have any debt. Napoli have consistently been in Europe. I just think all of that just shows how well run club Napoli is.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And like De Laurentiis said, that time that his club was always, although it's not actually true because they got away with murder with the Osimhen case, but generally. Huh?
They didn't get away with murder.
Well, they did. Well, they did. They put 20 million on 4 players, and one of them's a pizzaiolo now. I mean, it's one of them is a pizzaiolo. One of those 4 players that they sold to Lille for 20 million is a pizzaiolo a few years.
Yeah, but
later.
How's it's Lille who agreed to pay for it? It's not Napoli's fault that the opposing team that bought a player is shit.
That's the whole point. They didn't agree. It was a complete.
They did agree. What do you mean they didn't agree? Of course they agreed.
It was
They did agree. The
whole thing was to cook the books. I mean, it's
yeah, but why did Lille? What was the incentive of Lille to agree to that?
Well, we know what the incentive was. We know what the incentive was. It was to cook the books. It was to cook the books. We know what the incentive was.
For Lille, it was a bad deal. For Napoli, it was a great deal, but it was a bad deal for Lille. What was the incentive for them? They didn't they just got less money. And one of the players that they put in their books for 20 million is a pizza guy now. So it was a bad deal for Lille. I'm yet unclear on what Lille did. Like, how did this benefit Lille?
It doesn't matter who
benefited. If I sell you a piece of shit and say it's Lady Godiva chocolate and you pay $1 million for it, that's you doing a bad deal. You can't blame me. Unless I put a gun to your head and went Luca Brasi on you, then that's you making a shit deal.
Well, then we call that for every deal. Then we
do call it for every deal. We do call it for every deal. Again, what happened to Juve was not that. Again,
I didn't even mention Juve. You're mentioning Juve. I'm saying
because that's what you're inferring.
I'm saying they got away with murder. Everybody
didn't get away with murder. Lille made a shit deal. They made a shit deal. It's not Napoli's fault.
Don't make out like they weren't both in on it together. They were.
How were again? Then tell me what.
Because they inflated Osimhen's price in order to be able to cook the accounts. Osimhen, you're assuming that Osimhen was worth what Napoli paid for him. That's what you're assuming.
But yeah,
exactly. Well, he wasn't. You're thinking of Osimhen now. What he was.
Again,
the accounts were cooked. I don't think anybody can.
If there is a conspiracy, you need 2 people to conspire. If the other side
clearly was
just a shit businessman,
it clearly was because Lille knew they were buying 4 players they were never going to play.
And what
in
is
order
the
to cook the accounts?
Why did they agree to that then? Because
they were cooking the accounts, Nima. It's not rocket
How
science.
were they cooking the accounts when the 20 million?
Okay, they were cooking the accounts. Those 4 players were worth 20 million, and they knew they were. They just thought they were worth 20 million.
Well, what did they stand to gain from that? I'm yet to hear a coherent, logical, or legal
Osimhen's price was inflated. It was to inflate Osimhen's price. That's what it was done for, so they could put it in the books.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, but
I mean, it's not hard, Nima. I mean, they've got away with. Listen, I love Napoli. I'm half Neapolitan, and I'm happy that they won the Scudetto. I'm happy. I don't want them to be punished either. So, I don't want them to be punished. Part of me wants them to win. They're my team I'll be supporting this season. And seeing as Juventus aren't going to win the league this year, Napoli are my second team. I want Napoli to win the Scudetto. So I don't want them to be punished. I don't want them to get a points penalty. I'm saying it's fucking downright outrageous that they've got away with murder with that deal. 20 million euros on 4 players who 3 of them are playing in the Neapolitan pub league, and the other one's a pizzaiolo for 20 million. I mean, it's the most blatant. It's the most blatant.
I'm not denying
transfer deal you'll ever see in your life. It makes Arthur for 70 million look almost normal.
I'm not denying it was a fantastic deal for Napoli to do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I struggle to see what Lille, the selling clubs, did to gain from it. That's what I'm saying.
Because they inflated the Osimhen price. They put it down on the books as a 70 million deal or whatever it was, and he wasn't worth that amount.
Well, to be fair, Osimhen was highly rated at the time, and French
was highly rated, but you've got to also break down how much the players or the counterparts are worth. Those 4 players are not worth 20 million pounds. No, they're not even worth 20 pounds. I'm better than them. You're better than that pizzaiolo. You had more chance. There's more chance of you play. How many minutes did any of those guys play? I don't think any of them played a single
I don't think any of them played. Yeah.
I mean, it's a funny story. Don't get me wrong. It's a funny. But when I see Napoli fans,
I would love to interview one of them.
Yeah, no, we should. The pizzaiolo. Let's get him on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to get the pizzaiolo.
But when I see look, listen, I love Napoli, but when I see Napoli fans trying to defend it, I'm just like, just shut the fuck up, seriously, and just accept, like you fucking you did one over there, because I mean, you fucking man, brilliant.
Right. Next question.
I wonder what his pizza place is like. Maybe we should go and visit him.
That's what I'm thinking. I really want to interview him.
Let's do a documentary.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I would love that, and also to go there and see, like, what does he do now? Is it his pizza place? Like his view on that. The players involved in that deal would be hilarious to talk to. Not just hilarious.
How much does he charge for the pizza? Does he charge like 100 times over the odds? You know?
No, maybe this financed the pizza. You know, maybe this financed the pizza.
No, that's
place.
true.
We should be thanking ADL
so they should shut his business down. They should shut his business down as well.
Yeah, you know, he helps unemployment.
Bought with dirty
unemployment
money
in Naples. We should be thanking ADL.
Dirty cash.
Jamie Drum says, "Hi guys, question is separately. Rank the World Cups and Euros in your lifetimes as a neutral, discarding completely the results of Italy team in those tournaments." So for me, it would be every tournament from 86 and onwards, because I was 1 year old in 1982. You weren't born. So should we, or which one is your starting point?
Oh, sorry. I missed the question because I'm singing Dirty Cash, Money Talks, which is one of my favorite songs ever. Do you know which song I mean?
No, which one's that?
Dirty Cash, Money Talks. It's a
Why are you talking about that?
Because we're talking about dirty cash for Napoli. Like, so the song came into my head. I started singing it to myself. So I heard it.
The Juventus brain.
The Adventures of Stevie V. The Adventures of Stevie V. Dirty Cash, Money Talks. If you haven't heard the song, this is like a fucking brilliant song.
Yeah, the inner workings of the Gobbi brain. Welcome to an episode of that. A mirror into a window into.
So what was the question? Sorry,
it was separately rank the World Cups and Euros in your lifetimes as a neutral. Discard Italy within like their results in those tournaments.
Oh, okay, so, in my lifetime, so we can't include 1982.
No, of course not, because you weren't born and I was 1 year old. So
okay, but I mean, I've watched every single World Cup, every single game in every single World Cup since 1958. Like I've gone back and watched every single game, so I could rank them from there if you want to. But if we're going to just do my life,
from the ones in our lifetime.
Okay, in our lifetimes.
So from 86, do you remember much from 86? Like
not at the time, but I've watched every single game.
So then your first World Cup, I know we both have, but what I'm saying is, so therefore, I think you should start
1990. Well, I think that the best World Cups were before I remember, to be honest with you.
No, but just in your lifetime, from 1990 onwards, rank them, discard Italy completely, and just rank the World Cups and Euros. Top five, both World Cups and Euros.
2000s. Oh, and Euros. I think Euro 2000 number one, even though Italy didn't win it. World Cup 2006. I think those two tournaments had the best tournament with the best tournaments, the best games, the best players at their peaks. I think. So I think 2000, Euro 2000, then 2006. Then I'd probably go 90. It wasn't a great tournament for games, but for like the quality, I'd probably have to go 90. There's a bit of a romantic element there. It's my first tournament. Yeah. Then 90. I'm thinking of quality here, so I'll probably say 90, 98, probably.
It's funny how we have pretty much the same ones. Euro 2000, 2006, 98, 90. Those are the ones that...
Those four we both got in our top five. Then fifth, I mean, 94, if I'm talking from a nostalgic angle, but that's because Italy did well, you know. But I don't think it was an amazing tournament quality-wise. But you know, so I'm thinking of this nostalgic-wise a little bit. But then you know, the question is, don't disregard the results of the Italy team. I mean, 92 was a great tournament. because they had loads
I
of
remember
shots.
it in Sweden, yeah.
Not great, not amazing quality. Like you had some teams that weren't the best in there. I mean, like Denmark somehow won it without being a particularly good team, without their best player. Sweden were pretty good, but I wouldn't say they were amazing.
Well, they hadn't
Russia,
that Sweden's
CIS,
game against...
as they were called, were downright awful. Scotland weren't particularly good. England were horrendous. So it wasn't a great tournament. It was an enjoyable tournament to watch.
Sweden beating England. That goal, like that game, that's one of the best games I've seen by a Swedish national team.
Brolin, isn't it? And was it Darren?
Brolin. Yeah. I mean that the way they played. I mean, it was just that was the goal. The goal to the 2-1 goal.
Taylor taking off Gary Lineker for his last game.
I remember that. Yeah. No. So there you have it there. Right, next question. Vito Campanelli says, should Inter bench the starters for the Coppa Italia and Super Cup matches to focus on the Serie A and Super Cup to keep players fresh? And I frankly think those are meaningless trophies. I don't know. I think it probably will, because the Serie A and the Champions League is more important. And given how Kiev was rotated, I think he's going to continue that regardless. And I think he has to. So, yeah, I don't have. I think if he has to, if with the injuries as well. I think, that's pretty much where we are. Like, I don't know how else to answer that. Yes, the Serie A is much more important. The Champions League obviously is much more important. I don't think they're meaningless trophies, but I do think that, he has to rotate, and I think he's rotated really well. I think he's one of the most positive aspect of Kiev so far is his rotation. I think he's rotated better than Inzaghi, to be honest. Even though he's rotated less in the league stage of the Champions League and the league. I think his rotation has been spot on, and his read of those games have been spot on, to be honest. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that's fair. And I agree on the rotation point as well.
Scott Monroe says, as a Simpson quote was dropped along with the Championship Manager 0102 reference last week, what's your favorite Simpsons episode and save on a Championship Manager game? Carlo is right along with Atalanta. Roma were also overpowered on CM 0102. I had an epic save with them on that game. And thank you for making me laugh with the Monty Burns, the Velocitator and Deceleratrix quote. I forgot to mention my favorite episode, which is 22 short films about Springfield. My favorite Simpsons episode, I don't know, I can't tell you a favorite Simpsons episode, but there are, whenever Jasper Beardley is involved, or when Montgomery Burns is unleashed is just gold. I mean, Jasper Beardley, when the school is on strike, I think, and he's teaching the kids, and he's standing there with what essentially looks like a cricket bat, and he's telling the class that he's going to paddle them if they misbehave. It's just comedy gold. If you look out the window, it's a paddling. I mean, that is just, Jasper Beardley is my power animal. I love him. I absolutely love him. When he's got his beard stuck in the pencil sharpener, it's just brilliant. Anything with Jasper Beardley and Montgomery Burns is just fantastic.
I don't really have a favorite episode. I just love some of the characters, and I haven't watched The Simpsons for years. I used to love it as a kid, but I just love the characters. So if the characters are doing something good, I remember the Who Shot Mr. Burns episode when I was a kid. Like I remember that being everybody talking about that. I remember that being a great episode.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah,
Jasper Beardley is also.
I like the Apu.
When he wants to become an American citizen is gold. when Fat Tony sells him the false ID and says you're the son of Bob and Debbie and Nahisa Pema Petrol or whatever his name is.
I love it when he sung the song. Who needs my quickie mark? Who needs
the quickie mark? Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, the songs are really good. Yeah,
but hasn't that been cancelled now? Like that, you can't show up.
No idea.
Because it's seen as politically incorrect. Like all comedy nowadays, everything's politically incorrect.
No, I don't remember.
I'll make a joke anymore.
No, it's not. But the characters. Jasper Beardley when in that episode of Simpsons who shot Mr. Burns, because someone shoots him in his wooden leg, and they ask him to they say, you shot him in the wooden leg, and his reaction is, you shot who in the what and the where? It's just it cracks me up every single time. As for my favorite Championship manager save, I won the Scudetto with Palermo around 03, 04, somewhere around there. I think that's probably my favorite save of Championship manager.
What's your favorite
Championship manager save? Yeah.
What, on CMO 102 or
Well, generally
the greatest, not only the greatest Championship manager game of all time, but the greatest video game of all time, without any doubt for me, is Championship Manager 97-98. It's so good that I still actually, when I get time, which I don't have much time, I actually still play that game now and again. Now and again, you know, it's winter coming now, so I'll probably play a bit this winter, and it's just the greatest game. It's just everything about it. It's just the gameplay. It's the right level of difficulty as well. Problem with that CMO 102 game is a lot of people say that's the greatest Championship Manager game ever. It's too damn easy. It's so easy, that game. And that's the problem with it. Like, you just win the league every year and hammer everyone. And so that's my only problem with that game. It's a great game, but it was just too damn easy. CM 97-98, just the right level. And I won I could take over anyone in CM 97-98, and I know all the players. Championship Manager is a great game if you want to learn, like
100%
to build up your knowledge. Championship Manager is good, full stop, to build up your knowledge, because you learn all about the players. You learn their ages, their backgrounds, the clubs they played for, their positions, like everything. It's a great game for that.
Agreed. Cesare Mainardi.
Stadiums, cities, like everything. Really, really good for football knowledge.
And names of stadiums as well in cities. Cesare Mainardi says, Ciao amici, with the EPL having no financial incentive to join a Super League and the German ownership system likely keeping them out, do you think an Italian, Spanish, French Super League would be viable? To me, this seems like the only way the farmers' leagues can compete with the EPL financial might. It will kill the domestic leagues, but they're already dying a slow death. Also, keep it up, love the pod. This is exactly why I thought the Super League was a good idea. I don't think it will kill the domestic leagues, but and I think that the German ownership system is actually kind of, they're starting to understand. I mean, when the Bayer Leverkusen CEO came out and said what he said, it's like the penny's finally dropping that they need to counter. I mean, Galliani said it best: we need a Brexit in football, and that's the only way you can counter it. It's not the ideal solution, but no one said it was. It's the lesser of two evils. That's just how I see it.
Yeah,
from a non-Premier League perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Unfortunately, we've missed our chance now.
Not really. I don't know if you've seen this new report that there's a talk of them joining forces with UEFA now.
Yeah, that's your classic. That's your classic. Let's just, like you get in politics sometimes. Well, let's just sabotage our enemy, and infiltrate our enemy in order to control them.
No, but the suggestion is actually pretty good, that they want to join forces with Netflix as well. Like it was a leak. I don't know how true it was, but it was basically the Champions League and Netflix joining forces, and the A22 Super League joining in with that and creating some kind of a different. Obviously, the devil's in the details, but I thought it was an interesting way to kind of end this discussion.
I need to look into it more, but I think the chance has been missed. That was the chance to really challenge the Premier League then, and they botched the execution so badly by doing a closed league. They fucked themselves, and it serves them right. Those greedy motherfuckers that thought that greed, pure greed, because they didn't care. Those people that set up that Super League, they didn't care about saving football. They cared about lining their pockets and making it a closed shop so they could guarantee themselves money every single year. They didn't care about saving football. If they hadn't done a closed shop, it could have worked, and football could have been potentially saved. They fucked it up, and now it's. I think it's gone. I think the chance has gone now.
Yeah. Next question. Kevin says, do you think Spinazzola is key to how Napoli's plays in a 4-1-4-1 formation? Without him, they don't seem they have enough width and unpredictability down the left. I think the key to that is still David Neres. I think he's very important to how Napoli play. And I think he's going to feature more now. I think
Spinazzola is increasingly key, full stop, for Napoli, whatever the formation. We saw in the last game against Genoa, it was him that changed the game. De Bruyne got credit as well, deservedly, but it was Spinazzola. I would actually add that if Gattuso is going to continue with this 4-4-2 formation, then Spinazzola is also potentially going to be key for Italy as well, because who plays left midfield? I mean, I guess it could be Di Marco. I think Di Marco could play that role, but having Spinazzola playing left midfield certainly gives Italy that extra dimension of, if he's at his form he is in now, of being able to, and he got an assist, being able to take on his man and create overloads and everything. And I think Spinazzola in a 4-4 left midfield of a 4-4-2, it's his perfect role. I think he's perfect for that position. So I think even for Italy, he could be very important if we continue with the 4-4-2.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Next question. Sergio Leone says, hi guys, why do you both think that Italian football has been a lot more proactive than its Spanish and English counterparts in tackling corruption this century, much to the detriment of damaging its own reputation and weakening its own product? Whereas nothing more happens with the clear corruption ongoing at City and Chelsea, to name a few cases in England. We had a La Liga turning a blind eye to Barcelona literally bribing referees, and the Fuentes blood scandal. If these things happen in the Serie A, we know severe punishments would be dished out. You've got to laugh at Italian football being stereotyped as the most corrupt when the English and Spanish federations will sweep anything under the carpet to protect their product. On the flip side of corruption in Italian football, do you think the real reason why new stadiums really get built is that the mafia is controlling and influencing local governments to prevent the loss of power and money going to private firms? I think the second question of part of that is, I don't think it's mafia as such. I think it's more to do with the fact that people in municipalities have power. They own the land. And I don't think they want to give up that power. I think it's more a power dynamic more than organized crime, although I'm sure there's an element of that as well. I recommend, if you want to understand these things, I really recommend learning Italian for one, and reading and following Roberto Saviano's reporting on whenever he talks about football and corruption in football. He's genuinely a one-man army who wants to shine light on these things. So I really, really recommend his stuff on these things, his reporting on this, his analysis of it. It's very, very interesting. As for the English and Spanish doing what they're doing, I'm sorry, but the Manchester City case is just, I have no words. I literally have no
and the absolute
words.
pussies, I'm going to say the pussies in the media that have just been silent on this. They were banging on the door at the start. When's it going to happen? And now clearly they're all silent. Like it's exactly the last. Where are we now? October. The last 7-8 months, complete crickets, as you would say, from the media. Nothing. It's as if the case never existed. We've heard nothing, and now it's just there's nothing at all.
No, they memory hold it. And it's astonishing to me the way that this was handled by the FA, the way that this was legally allowed to happen in the way that it did. It's just...
No, it's gone from Man City potentially being relegated all the way down to the fourth flight to it never happened, to Haysel 1985. It never happened. Like
memory hold it. They just memory hold it. I mean, the legal invent like this the way that they legally invented like creativity that they used to get rid of this is just it's just astonishing. It's genuinely astonishing the way that they managed the legal creativity. It's like they decided, for me, this is my opinion, that it seemed like they decided on what it was going to be beforehand and then worked their way backwards. And it's just, I just no words.
But this is how they do it. I've been talking about this for years, for 20 years, since the 2000s. This is the Premier League have created a product, and they protect it, and that's why it's become. And we're in this post Fabrizio Romano world where truth and nothing matters anymore, and no one, and even more importantly, that no one actually does anything about it, even in terms of like the fans don't even care enough for it to matter. So they get away with it, and the Premier League, as for everything they've done brilliantly in building up that league, you've got to also remember that this is a league that, if there was the same desire as there was in Italy with, and I'm not just talking about Calciopoli, I'm talking about other cases as well, in order to create a big, scandal, to bring it out, to punish. If there was the same desire in Italy as there was in England, this Premier League actually could be destroyed. Because if you really want to go deep and look deep at what's going on, look at the figures that own Premier League clubs, not just now but past owners. Have a look at some of the people that have owned it, like mafia figures, the biggest criminals that are involved in the most shocking stuff that I have to be careful what I say, right? The league would be completely, it wouldn't be allowed to exist. We're talking really dark, fucked up shit. We're talking like Epstein level stuff. That's what we're talking about. So the Premier League goes far beyond the stuff that's gone on in Italy. But they're protecting their product. There's a lot of money at stake, and there's a lot of power. When powerful people are in charge, it's hard to bring them down. And also Spain, the same. I mean, Barcelona, we know what's happened with Barcelona. like the question says, they literally were caught bribing referees, but nothing come of it. In Italy, there is a desire. I think Italy, there's more a lust for scandal. There's more. Italian people are more vindictive as well. They want to get back at their enemy. They want to bring down their enemies in Italy. I think there's a culture. That's a cultural thing, and that probably goes down partly to. I mean, this wouldn't explain Spain, because Spain's quite similar, but like Italy is it's quite a new nation state, and there's still big rivalries between different places, different cities, and different, the north and the south, and so it's not that unity maybe isn't there. I don't know. I mean, you could probably say the same about Spain as well. There isn't great unity between the different states in Spain, is there? But the power, there's a power center that protects in Spain, which maybe in Italy, I don't know, but yeah.
I think there's also a part that, as corrupt as perhaps the Italian state is, and everyone likes to make fun of it, I also think the fact that this happens, that they are able to indict and prosecute, and these scandals, that's a sign of health to me. Because when you're able to hold powerful people to account, that's the sign of a health of a society, in my opinion.
It is a sign of a health. Unfortunately, the world is so effed up right now that those that prosper in today's society are those that don't do what Italy have done, in terms of, if we're looking at it in a footballing vacuum. Mm. Italy has suffered. Serie A has suffered with Calciopoli, whichever side of the fence you are on what happened there. That destroyed Italy. And whoever you want to blame for that, that's irrelevant. That was the start of Italy's, real destruction, which is never recovered from. Now, if they did something similar in the Premier League with some of the stuff which I've just been careful with what I've said, the same thing could happen. Also, it was probably at a time where, if that happened now today in this post-Romano world where truth doesn't matter, probably wouldn't have had the same impact, because people don't care anymore. I think we're in a world now where, look at what's going on in the world. Look at what's happened in the Middle East for the last 2 years. That's been allowed to happen.
I'd say, but
I mean, that's an extreme example, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is we're living in a world now where the most effed up shit can happen, and it can just allow to happen because we're living in this post-Romano world where people just don't care, don't do anything about it. And you know, so if this is
the post,
do you know what I'm trying to say? Like if
fact
2006 had happened today, again, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, probably wouldn't have had the same impact on Serie A as it did then, because back then, when a big thing like that happened, it had the impact to globally destroy. Whereas today, I don't know if that would happen now. I'm not sure. And this, even if this Man City thing came out, like I don't think it wouldn't destroy the Premier League. That's for sure. But if some of the other stuff came out, it would destroy the Premier League. You know, but that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Next question is Jesse S. Did the groundkeeper wreck the Juve Milan game? I counted at least 8 players that slipped. It actually felt like it was downpouring when you factor in the slips and shit finishing. I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't think about that. Did you think about that when Juve and Milan played?
I mean, it could have played an impact in the poor football. Yeah, it could have done. I didn't think of it at the time, but I'd also say some of the players on the pitch probably played a role in that as well.
I would be inclined to agree, and I think Jesse would be inclined to agree. Next question, Jacob Dunn says, "Hi Neiman Carlo, hope you're well. I was wondering, when do you think the Serie A was at its peak? To me, the period between 98 and 2002 was pretty special, as the title went down to the last 8 every year." I still
depends
think...
what you mean peak. If you're talking about exciting title races, yes, maybe. If you're talking about peak in terms of quality of players, I would say before that. I would say it's hard. I mean, you could go back to probably 83, 84, right up until the time of Ronaldo joining Inter. Take your pick. Really hard. But I mean, probably maybe late 80s, I always think, because Italy had every single best player, foreign player, and there was also a foreign limit, and it had all the best Italians as well. So I would probably say late 1980s, I would say. Late 80s, early 90s.
I agree. I think that's fair. Next question, Giuseppe Di Benedetto says, "Ciao Neiman Carlo, some more questions. First one, Soule is saying he would play for Italy. Should he be called up for the Moldova-Norway matches? There was lots of chatter in the Patreon chat against naturalized players, but a legitimate citizen is an option if they want the call-up. What are your thoughts on naturalized players, especially the Soule option? And 2, World Cup 2026 tickets have gone on sale, sort of. It's been pre-sales, and the prices are going up to thousands of dollars. Will this be the most expensive World Cup to attend? I really hate the FIFA dynamic pricing. It worked to our advantage for Club World Cup when no one wanted those prices and they plummeted, but I think it might work against the regular folks in the real World Cup." Again, just to be clear, Soule has not said anything that I've seen that he wants to play for Italy.
Yeah.
Maybe I've not seen anything like
that.
As for the debate about the naturalized players, I find this discussion to be so boring, because if you have ancestry, and why not? It's one thing that if you know that you have certain countries where essentially buy players from other parts of the world without any historical family ties to that country, naturalize them. And
I think the naturalized debate is only the more pertinent debate is not about ancestry. It's about how many years you need to be in a country before you're eligible for them. That I think that's the debate. How many years should it be? I'm not saying I have the answer for that. I'm just saying I think that's more, because when you get players that have maybe been in a country for like 2 years and then they get into play, should that be allowed? 2 years? Or I don't think it is 2 years. I'm just giving an example, you know. So yeah, that's the debate.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a coherent line here, and FIFA needs to legislate for it. But I do think that I honestly think that if you have a grandparent or a parent who's Italian, then why should you not be able?
I remember when Balde Keita came was coming up and was like this really big young talent, and I remember there being a debate. Oh, Italy, we need to keep hold of him. Just stop him playing for another 3 years, and then we can play him for Italy. I remember that debate, and I mean that's ridiculous when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, now I think Honest Arnor has a problem with that because he basically lived in Italy all his life, but he can't play for the first team.
Well, that is ridiculous. It's the same issue that Balotelli had, where he wasn't allowed to play for Italy till he was 18 because he wasn't actually considered Italian. But that's just backward. That's just ridiculous, though. That is. If you're born in the country, you should be.
Yeah, and if you're raised there and you're there, like you know, I don't. Yeah.
As for the ticket, spend your whole life there, yet you can't be considered Italian until you're 18, and that's just ridiculous.
Stupid. As for the ticket prices, have you seen the prices?
I haven't. Are they really, really expensive?
It's obscene.
What are we talking here?
We're talking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. I've seen some prices up to $10,000.
For what games? Group games or
generally? Like generally, the prices that I've seen are just obscene, genuinely obscene.
People are going to pay that?
I really don't know. I just know that I think it's disgusting.
Americans, all they care about is the money.
No, it's not. I mean, you can't just blame. You can't blame this on the Americans. I think FIFA's just as much to blame for this. They're the hosts. It's their tournament.
Yeah, but they're not gonna stop the Americans. Or look at, I mean,
Infantino's. But it's their tournament.
Infantino's owned by Trump. I mean, that's pretty clear.
Infantino's not owned by Trump. Infantino's owned by whoever pays him the most. That's my opinion. Whoever he can get the most out of into his pocket, that's who he's owned.
Generally, yes, but he's also owned by Trump.
No, I don't think he's owned by Trump.
Yes, he is. I mean, have you seen his Instagram? Every single week, he's licking.
Yeah, there's I think there's a financial.
Thank you, Trump, for this peace.
Yeah, because there's a financial element.
You deserve to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. There's a financial element to that. Like, I don't think it's a political stance.
Now, he's owned by Trump. Whether that's a financial reason or not, he's owned by Trump right now.
For me, it's all about always follow the money. Always follow the money. Always. When in doubt, follow the money. In football, in life, always follow the money. It's the only thing I'm going to say about that. But the prices and the ticketing is it's obscene. It's genuinely obscene. And maybe for some other games that gets like plummeted down, but because of the dynamic pricing. But right now it's just wow.
Well, it'll come down if people are not buying them. You know, it'll come down.
Jordan Bradley says, thanks for the great work. I lived in Messina last time they were promoted to Serie A and was regularly in Palermo and Catania when Palermo and Catania were promoted in the early 2000s. I also attended a Serie B match in Venice a couple of years ago and had a great time. Because of my street experience, I need to be careful and just thought this was a normal Italian football experience. But I've realized it was quite heavily influenced by ultras. Well, I love the passion and local love of Italian football. Is the ultra aspect of it holding Italy back? You mentioned part of the value of taking San Siro away from the ultras and strengthening the clubs, which I can get in a merchandising perspective, and some safer feelings of visiting games as an away fan or a foreign neutral. But if ultras and other intense fans like Nostalgia FC are holding Italian football back, how do you progress without becoming a soulless corporate entertainment product? This is a really interesting question. I think what I really like, one thing that German football has done, and that is that they have maintained as much as possible, even though German football fans who are more active in it than I am would probably say that, no, they've sold out. But they have maintained the soul of German football at club level. That's why they have the highest attendances. The prices are not shockingly expensive. They're still rooted in their communities, but they kind of removed this criminal, or minimize, I shouldn't say remove, minimize this criminal element of it, which I think is great. So I think there's a compromise to be made, and I think the German model is really good.
Yeah, I agree. Because the German, and they can still create great atmospheres as well. Just you don't like. There seems to be this idea that the ultras are bad, but they do create a great atmosphere. But
the criminal element
of the. But that's see, I don't
want to be stereotypical about all the ultras. I think ultras culture is fascinating, and I think it's really interesting. But the criminal elements of it, no. Like, That's what needs to be
but at the top of the ultra culture,
exactly the people running
and they're bullies as well. So like you know, if others try to create, like if other normal fans wanted to create, you know, an atmosphere, like we're saying, it's the ultras that create the atmosphere. They're the ones that bring the great, you know, the banners and the choreography and the fireworks. Although fireworks are probably banned now, but you know what I mean, the color and. If other fans wanted to do that, the ultras wouldn't allow you. That's what we do. We're in charge of that. Do you know what I mean?
I don't like that either. This gatekeep. The gatekeepers.
They're bullies. They're bullies. They're bullies. It's like when they do protests. The ultras do protests, and they're like the rest of the fans, just the normal fans, don't join along with them. They start bullying them. You know, and I don't like that. That's horrible. I hate that type of bullying behaviour.
Me too.
So yeah, I don't like it. And yes, of course they're holding them back in certain aspects because, you know, it's difficult. You know, commercial partners don't want to be involved with that kind of stuff.
Well, duh. Like,
you know, did you see the fight on the Autostrada between Catania and Castelnuovo? They closed that road for several hours because the fans, the ultras of Catania and Castelnuovo, decided to just stop their cars in the middle of the Autostrada outside Salerno and start fighting each other in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
Like, this is, I mean,
insane.
You couldn't make it up, could you? Imagine,
I know that in Sweden,
you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden, like the road is just blocked.
I know that. I know that in Sweden, they meet up in like random places when no one else is around.
They arrange them,
yeah, and beat the shit out of one another.
That's hooligan culture, yeah.
Ultras hooligan.
You know what your plan. You have planned for a big dust up, and then after you probably shake hands and
probably
go away, you know.
Yeah, crazy. Right, next question. Carmine Silveroli says, Ciao Mancarlo, another question for the pod. I've really enjoyed watching the Thuram brothers this season, and it's great to see the camaraderie between them. It got me thinking, given the current squad as both Juve and Inter, which club would benefit more right now from having both the Thuram brothers on the roster? As always, thanks for making my drives through the Philadelphia traffic so much more enjoyable. Appreciate all the work you do. Thank you for that, Carmine, or Carmine.
Juventus. They need a bloody striker. They need a forward.
Yeah, I think Juventus would benefit from it more, but I do think that Kefren Thuram in the inter midfield would be very good as well. But yeah, without a doubt,
every team would have them. But yeah, Juventus need them the most. That's for sure.
Yeah. Darren Ogue says, "Hi guys, a talking point for the next podcast I saw on X. Quote: Italy's under-21 coach Silvio Baldini made his team train with eye patches to enhance balance, coordination, and attention. If this is Italy's method for getting youth back to where they belong, they are in big trouble. I lost my left eye in an accident at 13 years old, and believe me, any sport that requires depth perception after that is incredibly difficult, as you have to retrain your brain. Your eyes are a small part of it for years, and not just a few training sessions. Please, someone tell Baldini to stop this madness." This is insanity to me. Like, and it's true. It's not something off.
Darren's obviously got the knowledge. Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So, yeah.
But it's absolute insanity.
He would know. So if I'm going on what Darren said here, it does sound like complete madness.
And it is true. He did do this.
No. I mean, I saw it. Yeah. My first reaction was, what the fuck am I looking at here? And then I saw the quotes as well, where he said he allowed them to talk like pirates at the end as well. And I'm just thinking, what is this? Is this some kind of joke? To be fair, I watched their game. I watched most of their game against Sweden, and they actually played really, really well. And they looked pretty good. I thought his appointment was ridiculous. He's a guy that the last time I heard of Silvio Baldini was in the mid-2000s when he kicked, was it Mimo Di Carlo at the backside and the touchline? That's the last time I heard of him. I've not even heard of him since then. I didn't even know he was still coaching. I think he's just coaching lower level.
Parma.
Yeah, he's coaching lower level teams. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he gets the Italy under-21 job. So I think it's pretty clear that he didn't get that Italy under-21 job on merit, did it? He got that because because somebody knew it. He knew someone. They're like a mandato culture. So anyway, listen, he started quite well. Fair play to him. So but this was bizarre.
It was bizarre. It was genuinely bizarre. There's no other way to put it. It was bizarre. Next question. Matty Stillmill says, ciao guys. Since I got into the Serie A, I've noticed that when, for example, a winger misses an open cross or a defender blows an assignment or something else goes wrong with the key moment on the pitch, you'll almost always see players flap their arms and yell incredulously at the teammates who made the error. Oversight, bad kick. I might sound like a boomer, but in my day, and honestly, even today in most American sports, that would be seen as showing up a teammate and would be very much frowned upon, resulting in getting pulled from a game, chewed out by the coach and media. Is there a reason that's not the case in Italian football? Is it cultural, just fiery Italianness, a figment of my imagination? Just curious for your take on this, as I feel like it happens 5-6+ times a game. I think it depends on how bad it is. Nicolo Barella pissed everyone off at Inter, and literally this became a thing where he had to learn to control himself because it was too much. I mean, he could do it to anyone. Romelu Lukaku famously had enough of him and yelled at him and told him to shut the fuck up. I remember in the Champions League semi-final against Milan when Lautaro didn't play him a pass, and he's on the pitch, on the floor, banging his arms and legs like an actual infant in a supermarket whose parent has said you can't have chocolate on a school night. It was embarrassing. And I think it's a sliding scale. He stopped doing that now, of course, but it's a sliding scale. I think once or twice, fine. But when you do it too much, it can become a thing and they talk about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know whether it happens as much as Matty says. I mean, maybe if he's following it, but I think that it's something that I hate, and it's something that it's not good for the team spirit.
No,
when you do it, Balotelli used to do it. Balotelli was the worst at it. Balotelli used to do it all the time, and he used to drive me mad, especially when he was playing shit and he used to do it. And I used to just think, you're not even playing well and you're doing this, and that used to drive me mad.
Yeah, agreed. Next question. Matthew Skender says, rumors that you were appointing Genoa's Marco Ottolini as sporting director. Can we get a little insight on him and his work? Well, you're doing a Juventus deep dive with Romeo Agresti this week. So you'll discuss that with him then.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him what the situation is. Is Ottolini coming? And also I'll ask Romeo
who is he, and do a little profile on it. So stick a pin in that until that pod. Next question. Stephen Barr says, hi guys, got a question regarding Nicolo Tresoldi. What kind of player is he? How high is his ceiling? And is he someone Gattuso should call up to the national team?
I've only seen him in the under-21s, I think, against Italy in that famous game where we had 9 men and we scored, Ambrosino scored that free kick to take it to extra time. And I think he might have scored in that game against us, or was it Walter Maid scored? I can't remember. But yeah, unlike Sulle, he's actually been quite open, says he would love to play for Italy. He was actually born in Italy and then moved, I think, when he was about 12 years old to Germany, and then played in the German youth system, and that he's the option. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Gattuso's spoken about it. I think they're looking to get him. Let's see what happens. It's good that we're actually getting some attackers come through now, though, as Nima said on his post-match on Saturday
night.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Tresoldi enough to give an intelligent answer, so I'm going to refrain from that after I've watched him more and enough to give a proper reply. I haven't watched him enough. Next question. Kunal Sani says, even against Estonia, Di Lorenzo is likely to be the starting right back. He'll be 33 by the World Cup. Are there any alternatives to him that you think will be better? Cambiasi used to be a right back, or he just does left back for Juve. Can he play at right back again? What other alternatives do you think? Also, after a narrow win against Estonia, should Italy try those old 1930s formation of Vittorio Pozzo 2-3-5 or the WM 3-2-5? It technically worked 87 years ago. What have they got to lose anyway? Thanks for the great work. Well, what they've got to lose is another place in the World Cup. So I don't want any experimentation. But as for Di Lorenzo, I think it's time to start looking at other options. Not just Di Lorenzo, but it's time to phase him out. I think he does have a role to play in the squad, but as a starting right back, I mean, they need to start looking at other options.
I don't trust him. I feel like now anybody that goes 1-on-1 against him, even for the weaker nations, like even Estonia, like, you know, I feel like I just don't trust him at all. I do think that if we get to the World Cup, we need to be looking at someone to play instead of him at the World Cup.
No, Michael Kayode is a good option. I think he should at least try him. At least call him up and try him. Like, seriously.
De Lorenzo on the ball is excellent on the ball, and he's very good going forward still, and he's good with the build-up, but it's just defensively. I feel like any time we put under pressure defensively, or other teams attack us or counter us, I feel like we're going to give up chances. We're going to give up chances on his side, because I just don't think he just can't defend. He can't defend 1-on-1. He doesn't defend crosses. Doesn't stop. He's never been good at that. Doesn't stop the ball coming in. Doesn't get tight enough to his man. He's too passive with his defending, and he gets done 1-on-1 all the time.
Agreed. I'm sure Patrick Henrik is now issuing a fatwa on you for taking the Tuscan.
Oh, come on, these fatwas expire. Surely. I mean, it's 2025.
The Tuscan Cafu in vain. The name of the Tuscan Cafu in vain. PC88 says, hi, Neiman Carlo. Quick question. Where do you boys order your retro kits from? Could you please send me a link? I got all my old kits out that I had as a child from when my nonna used to go back to Sicily every year, as far as early 90s till about 2010 or so, bringing them home to Australia. I'm really getting back into them and want to wear them, the ones that fit anyway. Thanks, guys. I don't order any retro kits. The ones that I've worn are old ones that I've had since I was like a kid. So I haven't ordered anyone. I'm going to. But you order yours. Where do you get yours?
Yeah, just the PC88. Just DM us on
well, he has, but just give the name of the link. Like,
I can't give it on. I can't give it on here. We'll DM us again, and we'll send you by DM the link.
Okay. Why can't you give it on here? Oh, okay.
I can't.
Ooh.
I can't. I'm not. I can't. I can't promote it. Yeah.
Nick Passaretti said, hi guys, I got another question. If you could take 3 moments from football and change them, what would they be? Mine would be Milan winning 05 Champions League. 2, Simone Zaza not allowed to take the penny missed for Italy in 2016 Euros. And 3, Frank Ribéry wins the Ballon d'Or in 2013. Honorable mention for Alex Pato to not get injured. Okay, so for me, it would be two Italy ones and 1 Iran one. The first one is the Euro 2000 final. Del Piero missing those 1v1s against Barthez, and Toldo making the only mistake he made that tournament, because Italy should have won that Euros. The second one is Walter Zenga making that mistake in Naples against Caniggia. I would erase that. And the third one is the offside goal that Iran scored against Spain in 2018 Russia World Cup. I wish it was onside. I would change those 3.
What was the score in that game? I can't remember.
Spain won 1-0. Had Iran equal, yeah. Had Iran beat Morocco 1-0, played 1-1 against Portugal, could have won that game, but that 1-0 loss to Spain is what really
did that knock you out?
That's what knocked us out. I mean, if Iran draw that game, Iran has 5 points, Spain has 3, and together
Spain would have gone out.
Yeah. So those are my.
What happened to Spain in that tournament? I can't remember who knocked them out. Yeah, but yeah,
2018. Yeah, I can't remember either.
I remember. Yeah. So yeah, I would say I agree with you. The 2 big ones are always there. I like the 2005 one as well. Probably say Pavel Nedved not getting that yellow card against Steve McManaman in the Real Madrid game in 2003. He misses the final. That was such a bittersweet game. That was to see what happened there. Who else? What else have we got? I think we've got the main ones, really.
Yeah.
The Italy ones. I've got a good story about Frank Ribéry, though, just on that Ballon d'Or story. So Ribéry's always been moaning and complaining about how he was robbed for that 2013 Ballon d'Or, how he deserved to win it, and how it was basically corruption and a commercial decision for him not to win it. I could confirm that almost certainly was the case, because at the time I was at goal, right? And we had an award which I started, which was called the Goal 50, which was basically every year we picked the 50 best players of the year or the season, and the winner would get an award, and we'd go and present it to the winner at their club. Now that year, the way that we would do it was a group of us at the top, like editors, would basically do a short list, and then everyone part of goal. We had like 30 editions around the world. Everyone at goal would put in a vote, and then we'd tally up the votes and see who wins it. So that year, Frank Ribery won the vote, and he won it by a landslide. So Ribery won the Goal 50. So we informed Bayern Munich that Frank Ribery was the winner, that we had an award for him, that we were going to go to the training ground and present it to him. They were all happy. They were delighted. They set it all up. They organised it and everything. Then, at the very top of the organisation of goal, the top management, the owners, they got involved, and they said, no. We don't want Ribery. Goal had just been bought at the time, and they were like, no. We can't have Ribery winning it. He's not. Basically, they said he's not commercially valuable to us as a brand, and we don't want him to win it. You have to give it to either Messi or Ronaldo. We want him to get it, because that we can do something with that. So in the end, like, we had to take. Well, I didn't. I refused to be part of it. I said, I'm not having anything to do with this award anymore. You guys do whatever you want. So in the end, they gave it to Ronaldo. Ronaldo won the award. We had to go back to Bayern Munich and told him sorry, there's been a big mistake.
Oh my God.
They'd already arranged.
Oh my God.
Funny thing
that is so embarrassing.
They told Ribery, or Ribery already been told he won the award. Like, funny thing is, about a week later, Ribery put out this big interview where he went ballistic, and I'm sure he didn't mention us, but I'm sure he was also referring to us, basically saying the reason why he didn't win the Ballon d'Or was because it was just commercial. It was just all fixed for Ronaldo to win because, for financial reasons, blah, blah, blah. And he was absolutely right. And he was speaking from experience, because that had actually happened on Goal 50. So Ronaldo ended up getting the award. He won it, even though that year Bayern had won the treble. And so let me just say that this is how football works. This is when they're making decisions on individual awards, or even like tournaments, who gets World Cups. I mean, we've seen it pretty much every World Cup, like the corruption that goes. It's always money that decides. And
always follow the money. Always follow the money. That's cringe behavior. That is really embarrassing. And talk about destroying your relationship with a club and a player. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Bayern after that, they didn't. They weren't happy.
Well, of course they weren't. It's embarrassing. It's genuinely. It's amateur hour. I'm sorry.
But this is also these are the kind of people that run, even if we're talking from a media point of view, run these media corporations, that they make decisions. They're not making decisions based on actual journalism or on, in this case, they just
doesn't exist, at least in the corporate setting. Next question, Alex says, how does Italy keep getting placed in the worst World Cup qualifying group? First Spain, then Switzerland with the run they were on in last World Cup qualifiers. Now Norway, which is undeniably the best team in the UEFA qualifiers. Obviously, Italy's incompetence is a major reason they haven't qualified for a World Cup since 2014. But you guys agree with me that Italy's bad luck for opponents has been insane? No, I'm sorry. The reason Italy didn't make it to the last World Cup is because Jorginho makes this stupid bloody hop-skip penalties. Italy outplayed Switzerland in both of those games. I'm sorry. That's the only reason. If you had an actual penalty taker, Italy wins those games. We're not even talking about this. It's that simple. Go and rewatch those games. Italy dominated Switzerland.
The first game they did. The second game at home, they didn't play so well, but they still had a penalty to win the game. First game they battered them away from home. They battered them. The second leg they didn't play particularly well, but they still should have won. I love
hop, skip penalties.
I love how
hop,
much you hate the hop skip penalties. I love how you always then go, give us back our penalties.
Give us our penalties back.
Brexit penalties.
For the win.
Put your laces through it.
Your laces through it. Top corner. Yeah, no. This is all Uncle Sharma's fault because he's the one who invented it. Instead, you've gone full. You've gone full.
The only thing I would say is I think that the way that FIFA or UEFA have organised the qualification groups is just terrible. The way that only one team qualifies from the group and the second team goes to a playoff, I think that's ridiculous, especially as there's a lot of groups that are 14 groups. So you slip up once, and that's basically Italy could go to a playoff despite winning 7 of their 8 games. Winning 7 of your 8 games and you don't qualify, and then yet you go to South America or North America and you've got teams that will lose 6 or 7 games in their qualification. In South America, you've got teams that could almost lose close to double-digit number of games in the qualifiers and still qualify. I mean, it's actually ridiculous, whereas despite the tournament being expanded to 30, how many teams is it now? 40, I don't even quite remember how. Is it 36, 48? It's 48. It's 48 teams now. Despite being 40, it's still no easier, really, in qualifying from the initial group stage of the World Cup, because only the top team qualifies and the second goes to the playoff. It was the same 4 years ago. They've expanded it from 32 to 48, yet it's still exactly the same procedure. It's still only one team qualifies and the second, and you've got teams in 14 groups where you can lose one game and that's it. You go into a playoff, which is another ridiculous scenario where you've got to play 2 one-legged games, a semi-final and a final. How can you decide something as big, as massive as qualification for a World Cup, the biggest thing in football, maybe in sport, and it's being decided on a one-legged semi-final and a one-legged final, and that one-legged final could be away from home. In fact, and if you're unseeded, you could play a one-legged semi and a one-legged final, both away from home. For Italy, the semi-final will be at home. I think it's embarrassing. It's just ridiculous, terrible procedure. So that's the one thing where I have some sympathy for Italy, because I think that's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I don't buy into this bad luck.
Bad luck with the draws? No, I'm not going to. I'm not. I agree with you there.
Sorry,
but
no.
But the procedure harming Italy? Yes, absolutely. I think that's just they need to change it. There's been some talk that they might actually change to a Swiss model like the Champions League and put everybody into one pool and you play everyone. I mean, I don't even really like that, playing once and it's not home and away, because I think that's not really fair. But at least that way, it isn't this, well, you lose one game and that's it. You're in the playoffs. Yeah,
that's fair. I agree with that. I like the Swiss model better, to be honest. I think it's spicy. I like it.
It's more exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Aristodimos Cassi's final question says, hi, Neiman Carlo. Every time you speak about the biggest what-ifs of Italian football, you always speak about Cassano, Balotelli, Baggio, or other players like Lentini. What about Giovinco? I was just a young boy when I first saw him play, but I was really fascinated by him, and I thought he was going to be the next Del Piero for us, Juventini. Where do you rank him among all the big what-ifs? You see, I don't think it's a what-if, because I just don't think he was good enough. I think he was good. Yeah, I think he was good, but he wasn't good enough.
When he was coming up, he was really excited. He was really, really exciting. I was really excited about him. I don't want to sound like a Prem face here, but I do feel like with Giovinco, his height and stature
harmed him
a lot. Yeah. I think if he was at least 1 inch or maybe 2 inches bigger, size does matter. He would have been, I think he could have. I think he would have had more of a chance. I think he was just a little bit too small. He used to get pushed around a bit, and
I don't know. It was also the fact that, yeah, he did. And I think that mattered the more the bigger the team, because obviously the bigger the team, the teams defend deeper against you and you need to find that space. Whilst when he was at Parma, teams didn't really do that. And so he found that space and he was brilliant at Parma. But I don't know. I just feel that I think he was a great player. But I mean, if we're talking about the provincial fantasista discussion, I think he's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
But to be good enough for a Juve, Inter, Milan, I'm sorry, I just don't think he
he was weighed down by the whole new Del Piero. It was also maybe penalised a little bit that he emerged at a time when the number 10 was just starting to disappear.
Agreed.
And he came just at the wrong time.
Agreed.
When he'd done his whole youth system and his whole development stage as a number 10. And then just as he made it to senior football, the number 10, they got rid of it. And then he had to reinvent himself and become more of a kind of a left-sided player, which he ended up doing pretty well as a kind of a left attacker or as in a front two, which again was disappearing as well. So I think he was a little bit, it was a little bit unfortunate in that sense. But ultimately, I think, the size thing. And probably, he was just lacking a little bit to be at that level. But he wasn't far away because he did have quality. He did have quality. He had a great shot. He was skillful. He did have a good turn of acceleration as well. Like he was an enjoyable player to watch. The atomic, what do they call him? The atomic
ant. Formica atomica.
That's it. Yeah,
the atomic ant. Right. That's over 30 questions we've answered this week. We don't have any ones left except for the one from Akbar Palavan about the worst 11s for Juve and Inter and which one would win, which we're going to do next week. So please do keep sending in your questions via DM on Patreon, as that's the best way to get in touch with us in terms of this podcast. We'll be back later in the week as Carlo will be doing a Gobbi Moan Fest with Romeo Agresti. No, I'm just joking. It's gonna be really interesting to see.
Well, no, you're not joking. You're probably right. To be honest.
The woe is me. The Juventus woe is me Fest 25. No, but seriously, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has to say because there's lots of things happening at Juve, and he would know if anyone.
Well, they're going to be active in the transfer market as well. Yeah. They're going to sign, from what I understand, they're going to sign a wing back and maybe a midfielder. So I think they're going to be active.
That's good. That's good to know. So make sure to check that out. It'll be out later in the week. And of course, next week, we're back to regular programming. Pod on Monday, Q&A, and Champions League is back. So there'll be a Thursday pod as well. So until next time, take care of yourself. This was almost 2 hours long. So until next time, and you see that whenever we leave questions, we always carry them forward. So please do keep sending in your questions. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.